Okay everyone, welcome back to the channel. Here we have our regular weekly outlooks. I've added gold now, so XAUUSD, so we'll be looking at gold, EURUSD and GBP USD. So let's start here on gold. So this is the 4-hour time frame of gold. Again, I've already got the structure marked up. So again, we have a structural high, structural low and structural high. So this is our current dealing range, right? This is our dealing range. Again, the most recent swing high, recent swing low up to the most recent swing high. So this is the dealing range we're currently working in. And now from here, if we simply project the Fibonacci tool from the swing low up to the swing high, what we have over here is 2 points of interest. Now quickly, what makes a point of interest? Well, the points of interest are simply areas that leave inefficiencies, right? So here we have a fair value gap in the premium. Notice how we have the 50% over here. So this is the premium 4-hour POI, and this is a premium discounted POI. So we have a bearish POI and a bullish POI. And now from here, the overall narrative I expect for the week is essentially something like this, right? We could tap into this POI, expect this POI to be tapped into. So bullishness until we get here. Then from here, we could very well see a reaction down to this 4-hour POI over here. So this 4-hour POI, this bearish one is at 2404. So let's quickly mark that out as 2404. And very quickly, why do I expect price to get up to this region in the first place? So this region over here, as we understand that the interbank price delivery algorithm, so this is the IPDA, the interbank price delivery algorithm, seeks essentially two things, right? Or three things. It seeks for premium and discount array. So we're trading from premium to a discount, or in this case, a discount up to a premium. So we've gone from a discount to a premium. The second thing we look for in the markets is we understand that price seeks fair value gaps in the market. Fair value gaps. And the last thing we understand price seeks is the concept of liquidity. So we have PD arrays, fair value gaps, and liquidity. And so from here now, we've left the 4-hour inefficiency over here. This is a 4-hour inefficiency. And once we have a 4-hour inefficiency like this, we understand that it is a target in the market, right? So we have a target over here, 4-hour inefficiency above the 50% level. And now from here, this 4-hour POI becomes the overall target. Heading down to the 15-minute time frame now. The 15-minute time frame, again, structure-wise, we are bearish. We had a trade from a couple of weeks ago, but we have a structural swing high and a structural swing low down here. And now from here now, the overall narrative remains pretty much the same. Going into the week ahead, I do expect we could see price retrace downwards, but ultimately I expect price to tap in here and then give us sells from that point. So this is the overall narrative I have on gold. Moving on to EURUSD, what we have over here is the weekly time frame. So to quickly zoom out, we have again our structural dealing range high, structural dealing range low. So this is how I essentially project the fib tool in this particular case. We have a structural swing high and we project it down to the structural swing low. So this is the overall narrative based off this. We have bearish structure, right? Bearish, the last structural low was broken. And now from here, we have a bit of an indecisive price action over here. So we're ranging in this region. Yes, we're in the discount. So from here, we could in fact attack this weak high over here, reaching this POI before ultimately heading lower. But we also have a draw on liquidity down here. So when we have two draws on liquidity, the overall narrative market bias isn't as precise, right? Isn't as decisive, sorry. So if we head down to the daily time frame, now the daily time frame again, the structure-wise, we are bearish, right? So we have a structural dealing range high and a structural dealing range low, right? And so from here, the way that I expect price to head now is we have again, we're heading in from, we've reacted off a discount. So we could see price again head up to this particular POI over here, daily POI, before heading lower. So again, this is in the premium, right? Notice how this POI over here is in the premium. And another thing to notice that we do have some trend line liquidity over here as well. So overall, structure-wise, we are bearish. We have a bearish POI up here. So we could see price come into a premium, sweep some liquidity before ultimately heading lower. So this is my overall narrative on EURUSD. Now the 4-hour time frame again paints a similar picture where yes, we have a structural high up here and a structural low. So this is our bearish structural dealing range. And now from here, if we look at how price action has behaved, we have a 4-hour POI that was respected last month. We also have a very large inefficiency over here, right? So if this is an inefficiency or a fair value gap, right? So from here now, I expect price to fill the majority of this fair value gap, and from here we could melt lower. So overall, the bias on EURUSD does actually remain bullish. And the reason why it remains bullish is so that we can expect this fair value gap to be filled, and we also have a 4-hour POI over here. So the fair value gap itself is over here. So expect these fair value gaps to be filled. So until these fair value gaps do get filled, I expect bullish pricing. So I expect price to get up to at least this price point over here. So this is at least 1.0883. Let's mark that out. 1.0883. So I expect the EURUSD to get up to this particular price. And last but not least, we have GBP USD. Again, what we have, very similar to EURUSD, is we have an overall bearish dealing range. So this dealing range high, dealing range low. So if we look at the most recent price action, what we have over here is we have a weak structural high. This here is a weak structural high. I recommend checking out some of my previous videos on this. This is a weak high. And the reason why this is a weak high is simply because we understand that the overall dealing range still consists of this swing high and this swing low. And so from here, once we have a swing high over here, this swing high is weak as it hasn't produced any low, but this is not a low in the market, right? This is currently a weak low as well. And as we have a weak high over here, with the current bullish momentum, it's important to understand essentially how the IPTA works. This is a fantastic example. We have a fair value gap over here to the top left. We have a weak high over here. Anything above a weak high is simply liquidity. And we've come off a discount. So from here, what does the interbank price delivery algorithm actually look to seek? Well, we went through this earlier on in the video. The interbank price delivery algorithm seeks liquidity, which is this weak high over here, and it seeks fair value gaps, which is the POI you see above this daily POI. So when we have liquidity and fair value gaps above us to target, this really paints the picture for a bullish narrative overall. So I'm very much bullish on GBP USD. Again, the 4-hour time frame, again, if we understand how structure is behaved, we haven't quite come into a discount, which is fine. I had these POIs marked out. But from here now, how am I looking at price? Exactly the same as the daily time frame, because the markets are fractal themselves. We have a fair value gap just over here in this region. So if I mark that out, this is an inefficiency or a fair value gap. We also have a fair value gap over here. This is a 4-hour POI. So this is also an inefficiency or a fair value gap. Another thing to note is that we do have a current structural weak high over here. So this red line over here is a weak high. And the reason it's a weak high is quite simply, when we understand the overall structure in price, again, I've made separate videos on structure. This is our structural high. This is our structural low. Anything in between is all internal. And so when we understand price over here, right, this is an internal high, but is it strong or is it weak? This is a weak high. And the reason why this high is weak is because it's only come down to this point. It hasn't actually produced any new lows because the low is all the way down here, remember. And so now because of that, we have an inefficiency and we have liquidity to target. So the overall narrative for GBP USD is quite simply for price to get up to this POI over here. And this POI is currently at the price point 1.294. 1.2942. So I expect GBP USD to get up to this particular pricing point of 1.2942.